The origins of democracy are described in various ways and are traced to different sources. For our purposes, in this video, we would like to go back to the 5th century before Christ and link it to the views of the Sophists. A religious law, like the religion it is based on, must rely on some fundamental principles that are not subject to change and alteration because they are considered absolute truths. If these fundamental foundations are changed or denied, the religion and thus the religious law can no longer stand, as they will lose their force. As recorded by Plato in his dialogues, the Sophists, 2,500 years ago, denied the existence of absolute truth, for nothing was definitive or certain in their view. All truth, they said, was relative and was a matter of rhetoric, convincing, and persuasion. If I am able to convince you, then that is the truth, but if you can persuade me, then that is the truth. By doing so, the Sophists pulled the rug from under all religion and religious systems. It is for this reason that the Hanafi jurist Al-Sarakhsi maintains that there is no point in arguing with the Sophists on the basis of sources and proofs. That is, the fundamentals. These views of the Sophists have certain implications for democracy. The first is that if a large number of people in a community come to be convinced about a certain matter, then the truth lies with this majority. As this majority will always be right, having been convinced about the truth, it will have the right to take decisions and to make laws, for the truth is on its side. This is so, even if it leads to the tyranny of the majority. The second implication that flows from the first is that the majority, being in possession of the relative truth, will have the right to change any law. No law will be inalienable or unalterable, as there is no absolute and definitive truth. Here we may recall the saying that the British Parliament can turn a man into a woman and a woman into a man. The third implication is that every person will have the right to convince every other person and vice versa. Every person will have the right to believe in what is the truth for him and also to act upon such truth. This will give rise to equality of every kind among the people in general, irrespective of what the majority believes. Equality, as we know, is an essential feature of democracy. It is for this reason that our Constitution, along with the Objectives Resolution, says, wherein the principles of democracy, freedom, equality, tolerance, and social justice, as enunciated by Islam, shall be fully observed. Turning to the third implication of equality first, we may raise the question as to why there was a need to use the words as enunciated by Islam. Are there some characteristics in Islam that go against democracy in the Western sense of the term? Let us check some of the provisions of our Constitution and law against the benchmark of equality so that we may be able to determine how far our Constitution upholds pure democracy. The President of Pakistan must be a Muslim. However, a Muslim woman can become president. A woman is entitled to half the inheritance of a man. Her evidence, too, is half that of a man in financial matters. While it is not admissible in hudud cases, she does not have the right to pronounce divorce like a man. Her blood money, or diyat, is half in traditional law, but the law of the state does not make this distinction. She cannot pass on citizenship to her spouse. There are some differences with respect to the custody of children, too. A Muslim cannot convert to another religion, while persons from other religions can convert to Islam. A Muslim male can marry women from the people of the book, but not a Hindu woman. Males from the people of the book cannot marry Muslim women. As far as group rights are concerned, Pakistan does not recognize LGBTQ rights. For example, we said above that in a true democracy, the majority can change any law that it likes. Can the majority change the above laws in Pakistan? Apparently not. even though theoretically it is possible. In other words, the power of the majority to change certain laws is restricted. The laws listed above that cannot be changed may just be the tip of the iceberg. The question to be raised is whether there is a system within democracies that allows certain laws to exist more or less permanently outside the grasp of the political majority. If so, what is such a system called? The system in which certain laws are deemed fundamental and are not subject to change by the will of the majority is called a republic. The meaning of republic has evolved over time, but the meaning we are interested in is one that has come to be crystallized in the system prevalent in the United States of America. The American Declaration of Independence begins with the words, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." Here, the Declaration is talking about human rights, but the most important point to note is that it declares these as absolute truths or as self-evident truths, which is something that goes against the assumption of the Sophists. The second point to note is that these rights are inalienable and are not subject to alteration by the majority. Elaborating on this meaning, the United States Supreme Court said in Savings and Loan Association versus Topeka, "There are rights in every free government beyond the control of the state. A government that recognized no such rights, which held the lives, the liberty, and the property of its citizens subject at all times to the absolute disposition and unlimited control of even the most democratic depository of power, is after all but a despotism." The words "beyond the control of the state" are important and convey that these rights should not be suspended or cannot be suspended by any government. In fact, they cannot be questioned by any law or by any government. They are outside the purview of the law. As compared to these ideas, Bentham, whose views have ruled England and hence Pakistan, denied the very existence of human rights, calling them nonsense on stilts. Bentham believed that these rights are not endowed by the Creator to man. Rather, it is the state that grants these rights, and it is the state that takes them away. It was only in 1998 that the European Union, in a way, forced the United Kingdom to adopt the Human Rights Act. It may also be pointed out here that the American position on human rights has been passed on to the United Nations, which considers these rights to be universal, inalienable, indivisible, and interdependent. Our conclusion here is that Pakistan has been declared by its constitution to be a republic, that is, the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. What this means or can mean will be elaborated in our next video.